Destiny 2 is famous for allowing players to fulfill their space magic fantasy through a myriad of elemental subclasses. Now, these subclasses can be changed to fit our needs for whatever activity we find ourselves in and refined even further with certain weapons and armor pairings. By now, build crafting is no secret. Hell, we even have our own series called Build Battles that we live stream, where the community faces off against one another, showing just how potent their builds and setups are. Now, no lie, some of the builds are great, others not so much. But it's a fun time nonetheless when it comes to min-maxing inside of Destiny. But there was something that we have never included in a single one of our builds. One small detail that I myself have overlooked for years. And while this may not be groundbreaking, this does round out our builds and could make the difference in your gameplay loop. Today, guys, we're gonna talk about finishers. Now, I know some of you are like, Cross, what are you on about? I know what a finisher is. You kick an enemy in the face, you whack them with the chair. So what? Fellas, that's where you're wrong. Finishers matter. And no, I'm not talking about cheese. I'm talking about the elemental effect of your finisher. Now, before you jump up into the comment section and say, Cross, finishers are solely cosmetic and have no impact on gameplay. They're just for Bungie to suck as much silver out of us as possible. Well, two things can be right at once. Yes, finishers are a way for Bungie to get more silver. I mean, let's be frank, some of these look really good. You can see where all their funding is going. At the same time, though, finishers do in fact matter if you care about extending that synergy. You may have noticed over the course of your playtime that most finishers will change their effects and colors to match your currently equipped subclass. Orange for solar, light blue for arc, green for strand, and so on. Now, what this actually does is that it gives you another tool in your arsenal to enhance your build and its uptime, as these finishers will count as a pseudo weapon kill. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that your finisher can actually trigger subclass and armor effects depending on their element, even though they aren't weapons themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, finishers can't do 99% of the things that weapons can do, like generate orbs through siphon mods, apply subclass effects like Scorch or Jolt, or even trigger weapon perks and most origin perks, with the exception of a few things like Restoration Ritual. However, you can build around finishers all the same, with the examples we're about to take a look at here, which brings us to our subclasses. Starting off with the most important subclass, as this is what really kicked off this entire string of research, and also due to the fact that it's very hot this season, no pun intended, that being our solar subclass. When using the fragment Ember of Empyrean, which states that solar kills extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects by 4 seconds up to a maximum of 12 seconds. This includes finishers. Every time you finish an enemy with this fragment while under the effect of restoration, radiant, or both, your finisher will extend the timer just like it would if you got a kill with any other solar weapon or ability. Moving over to Stasis, and specifically Titans, we have the aspect Diamond Lance, which states that shatter or defeat targets with stasis ability or weapons to create a stasis lance. Now, in the same way that solar finishers will extend your buff timers, stasis finishers here will count as those weapon kills and can generate a diamond lance on a dead enemy. And then we have Strand, Void, and Arc. You might be wondering why we're bundling these together, and that's because unlike solar and stasis, these subclasses don't have any specific effects, but there are a few setup things you can utilize depending on the activity that you're playing. If you're finishing an enemy while utilizing this Strand subclass, you'll be able to generate a tangle by finishing an enemy so long as they have one of the Strand debuffs affecting them at the time you initiate the finisher. Now, something fun you could do as well is use the Give them the chair finisher on an enemy, because the tangle spawns at the point of the dead enemy. Launching them with a chair can create some unique setup opportunities, as the tangle will get launched alongside the body. Now, Void and Arc round out our subclass list because, as we mentioned before, there aren't really any additional things you can do outside of what the subclass already provides for players. Arc provides the fragment Spark of Bolts, which allows any finisher final blow to make players amplified. And Void provides the fragment Echo of Cessation, which allows any finisher final blows to create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. And defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. And Echo of Obscurity, which states makes players invisible on any finisher final blow. Now, these fragments can be triggered with any elemental finisher on any character, which is why they aren't as special as our earlier observations. The real draw here is going to be that restoration and radiant uptime, as it will allow players an additional way to maintain those timers, even if they're caught between reloads or abilities. Now, subclass synergy isn't the only thing finishers are good for, as we have a few armor pieces that could take advantage of these as well. Our primary example is for our warlocks. Using a void-specific finisher and then pairing it with the exotic helmet Nezarec Sin will allow you to take advantage of that ability regeneration regardless of what subclass subclass you're on, as that Void finisher will trigger its exotic perk. In a similar fashion, if you're the ammo support for your team and you're rocking our recently reviewed Aeon Gauntlets, you can throw on a Stasis specific finisher to shatter a target and make the ammo fall straight down for your teammates instead of sending those bricks into the abyss. For my hunters rocking Assassin's Cowl or Omnioculus, there are a few finishers such as the Sure Shot, which you can get from the store. I know, pay to win, but it is so fast. Literally has the fastest time to kill and will proc your invisibility and healing faster than any others. Now let me be clear, you regain control of your character at the same time as any other finisher, but the actual armor or ability effect will happen faster than other finishers as the enemies die sooner in the animation itself. Finishers can also have certain dissolve effects, which are quite handy for enemies like Incinerators or Cursed Thrall, as it will neutralize them from dropping their explosive backpacks or blowing up in general. So Cross, how do we tell which finishers will change and which won't? Now most finishers in the game will change with your subclass, but if you want to double check, you can always preview it in the collections. When you preview it, if it changes colors during the preview, that means it will change with your equipped subclass. Similarly, if it doesn't change during the preview, that means it won't change its elemental type. Now another way to check is to see if the animation itself involves subclass specific things. Hunters have finishers that uses the Solar Super Golden Gun, so that one of course stays solar. Warlocks have finishers that use Nova Bombs or Nova Warps, and Titans have finishers that uses Solar Hammers or Stasis Fists. Of course, these are just examples, as there are a ton of finishers in the game, but that's an easy way to double check. So guys, there's our little bit of knowledge for today. I know, nothing crazy, but it's something that definitely helps round out your builds. These are additional ways to further a build, and you never know where you might be where this can save you. You could literally be in a solo dungeon run, and having that build extend restoration could be the difference between you wiping or not. And for me specifically, depending on the content I'm going into and the build that I'm utilizing, finishers are now a part of that equation. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.